What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. So today we're talking about China Glaze. They just released a new collection for Halloween 2022 which is called Vain Villains. So we've got 6 brand new polishes and they are inspired by female villains. Now really quick, if you haven't heard of China Glaze before, they are a mainstream nail polish brand that is 7 free, meaning they are free of 7 of the potentially harmful ingredients that are often found in nail polish. They are vegan, meaning they do not use any animal-derived ingredients, and they're also cruelty-free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. So like I said, we've got 6 polishes in the collection, so we've got 1 neon, 2 shimmers, and then 3 polishes with a matte finish. And like I said, all of them are inspired by villains, and to be honest with you, I don't know which polish is inspired by which villain. I'm just assuming that they're Disney villains because I don't recognize the names. So if you know any connections, you can definitely leave them in the comments. But I will say, looking at these polishes initially, I wasn't thrilled by the color story. I just feel like altogether it's kind of just a mishmash of colors, but it does feel very distinctly villainy, so I get that. But let's take a look at the polishes individually. I'll show you the swatches, then we can talk a little bit more about my thoughts on them and the pricing and availability. So roll the swatch footage. So as always, just using base coat underneath all of my swatches to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today I am using the Orly Bonder base coat. So we'll start off with this shade, Once a Witch, Always a Witch, and this one is a super bright neon. It's sort of this highlighter yellow that has a very green undertone to it. Honestly, it looks a little bit more green in the bottle, but it showed a little bit more of a yellowish tone on me. Regardless, it's absolutely gorgeous in the bottle, but I was a little apprehensive about this one because China Glaze neons can be hit or miss. I feel like their older shades are incredibly sheer, but the newer ones that they've come out with are a lot better of a formula, and this one unfortunately just didn't make the cut for me. I figured 3 coats would be good considering it's a neon and it's a yellow, so I would have been happy with 3 coats, but even in 4 I felt like it was still a little bit patchy. Maybe I can get away with using it for nail art or wearing it over a white base color, which I really don't love to do, but yeah, this one turned out to be a disappointing start to the collection. Next up we have the shade Rotten to the Core, and this one I was very excited about because it is a cool toned purple that has a blue shimmer running throughout, which actually reminds me a little bit of their shade I've Got a Blue Attitude, but this one is a little bit more intense, in your face, brighter shimmer going on. It definitely looks a little bit more blue on the nail, and this one was really beautiful. I actually ended up getting full opacity in 2 coats. Now on camera it was a little bit tricky because I feel like you can see me reflected in it and it looks like it's a little bit more sheer, but to my naked eye it was fully opaque in those 2 coats, so I don't know. I'm a little iffy on it just because of how it looks on camera, but I thought in person it was absolutely gorgeous. Moving on, we have the shade Deadly Desire, and this one is a red shimmer. So it's this really intense primary red color, and then in addition to having that sort of pearlized shimmery feel to it, we also have slightly larger red metallic flecks in there. So they're still super small, but they catch the light really beautifully, and this one had really nice opacity. So it was actually almost opaque in the first coat, but I did need a second to get that full coverage, and this is actually what I'm wearing in the intro and outro to this video, and I think it is absolutely stunning. Now I will say I did notice that it dries slightly lumpy even with a top coat, but it is really gorgeous and it's just a perfect Halloween shade, but I could also see this being a really great holiday shade. So moving on, we have 3 polishes with a matte finish, and I was actually really excited to see that this time around China Glaze did write matte on the bottle cap, which is something that to my knowledge they have never done before, and it's always a surprise to me when something ends up having a matte finish, so I definitely appreciate them saying it on the bottle. That's very nice to have, and I hope they do that for all future collections. So this shade is called Twisted Sister, and it's sort of this pinky fuchsia cream shade, and of course it does dry down to a matte finish. Now, one thing about matte finishes in general is I find them to be a little bit less self-leveling because because they have a thicker kind of formula. So once this one dried down, I feel like you could see all of the imperfections of how I painted the nail, and I didn't love that. Now, it's a really pretty color, but you could definitely get the same effect by buying a good quality fuchsia cream and then just using matte top coat. So I don't know, I'm a little conflicted on this one. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not the best. Next up, we have the second matte finish shade. This one is called Evil Queen, and this one is a black matte polish. Now, you can see in the first coat it was a little bit sheer, but because it's sheer, you can actually see there's a little hint of a dark shimmer in there, and it's really hard to tell, but once the polish is dry, it almost gives that very slight velvety feel to it. So this shade I actually really did like. It gave me full opacity in 2 coats, and I thought it was actually pretty beautiful on the nail. I could definitely see myself using this because, especially around this time of year, it's just convenient to have a black polish that already has a matte finish. So you could use this for nail art where some of the nail is matte and some of the nail is shiny. So I could definitely see a use for this one. But again, you can get the same effect if you just use a regular black polish and a matte top coat. So I don't know. And then the final polish in the collection is this one, Sinful Soul, and this one is a white cream polish with a matte finish. So it's basically just the white version of Evil Queen. And this one, it looked pretty promising in the first coat, but even after 2 coats, it wasn't fully opaque for me. Now, I don't think it's crazy to have to do 3 coats for a white polish, but my nails are really short, and I know I have a few good polishes that are 2 coats on me for a white cream. So I just feel like for this, it's just not worth it to me to go in with a 3rd coat just to have that matte finish. So I don't know, I'm just a little conflicted on how I feel about these matte polishes. They're just not the best formula, and I just don't know that they're worth having a separate polish just so you could have a matte finish. If it were something interesting with like a shimmer or like that velvet matte kind of texture to it, then I would totally understand, but just for a basic cream finish, I just don't love that. So here are all of the polishes together, and like I said in the beginning of the video, I just don't think that this color story is particularly cohesive. I understand that like individually they definitely give me villain vibes, but altogether, I don't know, it just feels like they kind of threw this together, and I don't love it. And that paired with the fact that the 3 matte finishes are very basic colors. I mean, I think a lot of people already have a black and a white and a pink, so I don't know that it's worth it to have them again just for a matte finish when the formula isn't amazing. Now, that said, I absolutely love Deadly Desire, that red shade. I think it's super beautiful. I think Rotten to the Core is fun as well, although now I'm starting to second guess myself because in the video it doesn't look as opaque as it looked on my nails, and I was just super disappointed with the neon. So yeah, overall, not a good collection, and I'm so sad to say that because I absolutely love Halloween polishes, and I feel like we just haven't gotten that many this year. So I'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts on that in a second. So those are the polishes, and overall, I have to say, as a whole, I'm not totally impressed with the collection. I think that I'm a person who really sees inspiration in a color story, and even though for a lot of people you just wear one color at a time, I feel like I'm more drawn to collections when there's a lot of really beautiful cohesive shades. So I think that kind of threw me off. Individually, there are a good amount of colors in the collection that I appreciated, but then we also had a few that were just not opaque enough, and that was really disappointing as well. But yeah, these polishes come in 14 milliliter bottles. They have what I like to call a medium wide flat brush, so it's not what I would consider to be a wide flat brush, but it is relatively flat and slightly wider than a round skinny brush, so it's kind of just a happy medium for everyone. I get my polishes from HB Beauty Bar, which is an online nail polish retailer, and there they sell for $6.95 USD each, and you can also use the discount code KELLI to get 22% off your order there, so I will link that down below. But yeah, I'm curious what you guys think. Like I said, I think there are some individual shades that I absolutely love, but just as a whole, I'm really not feeling this collection, so I'm I'm curious if you feel the same way or if you really love them, or maybe if you know the inspiration, maybe that just makes you enjoy the collection a little bit more. So definitely let me know in the comments. We can chat about it. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please give this one a thumbs up. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. I put out new videos every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. I also have a second channel, my vlog channel. If you guys remember, I just released a collaboration with Orderly, and I just posted on my vlog channel a little behind the scenes of me visiting their labs. So if you haven't checked that out, you should definitely look at it. And of course, a huge shout out to my Cosmic Admirals on Patreon, Amanda M, Rocket Man's Daughter, Paula, Kenneth, and Rosie. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's fun fact question comes from our Patreon supporter Brooke B, and Brooke wants to know, do you have any specific books you want to read during spooky season? There actually is one particular book that I've been saving for this season. I think I actually heard about it years ago, and then I just kept on forgetting to read it during like the Halloween season. But this year I remembered, and I started reading it when I went over to LA because I just felt like it kind of fit in with me releasing a Halloween collection. It's called Alice by Christina Henry, and it's like a very twisted horror version of Alice in Wonderland, basically. I'm not far enough into it that I can tell you if I recommend it or not. There's definitely a lot of trigger warnings, so just be advised about that. But yeah, I don't know. I actually don't have too many other books on my list, but I love like the fall Halloween-y vibes. So if you have any recommendations, you can definitely leave them in the comments. And in the meantime, I will just read this book and see what I think of it. I don't know why it is, but I always feel like anything Alice in Wonderland that's not cheery and bright feels very Halloween-y to me. So that's why I would consider it a somewhat Halloween-y read, even though it's not really like that at all. But yeah, that's it. I will see you all in my next video. Bye!